Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Biodiversity and Conservation. I am Subhalakshmi Raut from Ambika Prasad Research Foundation, India, and today we are going to talk about research design. In the research process, after formulating the research problem, the next step is preparation of a research design and it deals with the arrangement of all the conditions for the collection and analysis of the data in a manner that it can solve the problem easily. And the designing mainly is made kept in mind about some questions like what is the study about, why is the study being made, where will be the study carried out, and what type of data is required, and where can the required data can be found, and what will be the sample design, and what techniques of data collection to be used, and how will the data be analyzed, and lastly in what style the report be prepared. So keeping in mind all these questions, a research design is to be made. So the research design is split into mainly four groups. They are sampling design group, observational design, statistical design, and operational design. In case of sampling design, we have to keep in mind about the methods of selecting area or items that are to be studied during the research. In case of observational design, we have to keep in mind the conditions that are present during the experimentation is carried out or during the observation period. And next is the statistical design, where we have to keep in mind about the methods um, to analyze the gathered data. And in case of operational design, here the techniques by which the procedures we have decided to collect the sample, or how to analyze the data, or how to observe the data is carried out. So it is the uh, design where we have to work out the research. Next is there are some important features of a research design. Why it is important? Why we need this? So research design is actually plan that specifies about the sources and types of information that are actually required in the particular research problem that is selected by us, and it gives us a strategy about how to approach while collecting data and analyzing it, and it also gives us the idea about the time frame and the cost which is to be spent out here while carrying out the research. Next is need for research design. Why do we need a research design? So research design is mainly planning of the methods that are to be followed during the research, starting from collection of data to writing thesis. So it is actually required for the smooth sailing of the research operations, and thereby making the research very efficient with maximum information and minimum expenditure and error. So if we have in mind that what we have to do after what step, like after collection of data, what type of data to be concise so that we can use in our research, and according to that how we can create a experimental procedure which will give us the correct result that we want. And so this research design is really very important. And next is it, if we have a research design, then we will be confident about our result because we know we have followed all the steps properly. So we will naturally think that our outcome will be also perfect without any error or very minimal error. So next is, what are the features of a good design? So a good research design is often characterized by some features like it has to be flexible, it has to be appropriate, efficient, and economical. So generally, a design that have minimum error or bias and maximum information or data that can be relied upon easily is a good design. And a good research design considers some factors that are very important during the research, like a good research requires the good means of obtaining information, proper means of obtaining information, and it also depends on the availability and skills of the researcher and the objective of the problem that is to be studied and the nature of the problem to be studied and about the availability of time and money for the research work. All these are the factors that are very important, plays an important role in giving us a good research design. So there are some words, terms or concepts that are related to research design like variables. They are the values that change with the change in the environment and most likely like height, weight, and these type of values always change depending upon person or the environment in which we are carrying out our study. And there are dependent and independent variables. And dependent variables are those which are most probably affected by any change in the environment, and independent variables are those which are affected but not largely like dependent ones, and like the gender of the individual, if those are age, gender, all these are independent variables. So the change in environment doesn't play an important role on that. Next is extraneous variable. So the independent variables that are not related to the purpose of the study but affect the dependent variable are called as extraneous variables. And next is control. So here actually control is this term is used when we design the study minimizing the effects of extraneous independent variables. And in experimental researches, the term control is used to refer to restrain the experimental conditions. Next is confounded relationship. Here, when the dependent variable is not free from the influence of the extraneous variables, the relationship between the dependent and independent variables is said to be confounded by the extraneous variables. Next is research hypothesis. So when a hypothetical relationship is tested by scientific methods, it is called research hypothesis. And Usually, a research hypothesis must contain one dependent and one independent variable. And next is experimental and non-experimental hypothesis. So the experimental and non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Here, when the research is done to test the research hypothesis, it is called hypothesis testing research. And if the research is conducted where the independent variable is manipulated, then it is called experimental hypothesis testing research. And when the independent variable is not manipulated, then it is called non-experimental hypothesis testing research. So next is experimental and control groups. So in an experimental hypothesis research testing, when the group is exposed to usual conditions or our environment, they are called control group. And when the group is exposed to some new or special condition, then it is called experimental group. Next is treatments. So the different conditions under which the experimental and control groups are put are usually called treatments. So, like if we want to determine through experiment if a particular type of fertilizer is better than other two, then we will put them into some same treatments, and the result will show which fertilizer is good for our use. So next is experiment, the process of examining the truth of the statistical hypothesis is called experiment. So for example, we can conduct an experiment to examine the usefulness of a certain newly developed drug. And next term is experimental unit or units. So the predetermined plots where different treatments are used are called experimental units, and experimental units are to be selected properly depending upon our research problem or our research method. So this is all from me today. Thanks for watching.